On our interview segment this week, we talk to Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. In this interview, we talk about the tribunals, the allegations of cash for judgments, the quorum of the INEC board, and much more. Let's start with the election tribunals. Most of them have completed their jobs and given their verdicts, but there are controversies that are coming out of some of these verdicts. Some people say that it's as if that the courts are trying to give back to some of the politicians mandates that they didn't win through the electorate. I don't know, what do you make of this issue and also the allegations of cash for judgments that we've heard in some cases?
There's nothing new that has taken place this time around. However, the allegations of corrupt practices has been made rather recklessly, more than ever before, by some of those who have lost in the courts of first instance. But if you look at all the results that have oozed out of the tribunals, all the parties, all the leading parties, PDP, APC, Labour Party, ABGA, and those who contested, and others who contested the election, have lost some cases. They have also won others. In the case of Akwa Ibom, the governorship election, the tribunal annulled 18 out of 31, the result of 18 local governments out of 31. In Rivers State, the entire result was annulled. And that is not the first time that has taken place in Nigeria. In Delta State, both the Labour Party and the APC lost to the PDP candidate. In Cross River State, the PDP won the governorship election petition. And you can go on and on all over the country. In all civilized societies, the rule of law must never be taken for granted. When you discredit the rule of law, you are simply inviting anarchy and chaos. That is not to say that if anybody has allegation, evidence to substantiate allegations of corruption, they will not be entertained. And I think that is the point the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria has made. That if you have any allegation of corruption, or undue influence, or whatever, there is a procedure for ventilating your claim because of all the three arms of government. The judiciary is the only one that has an effective inbuilt mechanism for dealing with bad eggs, for dealing with corrupt judges. Even there are judges who have made orders that cannot be justified, who have been suspended or removed completely. So if anybody has evidence this time around to substantiate some of these wide allegations, by all means, some of us will support them. Anybody, such a person. Some of us write petitions. A client of mine from outside the country has just sent me a petition this morning, together with an affidavit, which I'm going to submit to the NJC, National Judicial Council, against a sitting judge. But the evidence is substantial, is overwhelming. Oh yes. But by all means, don't be tempted as a sitting governor, as a legislator, as a lawyer, or whatever. Don't make the mistake. I mean, don't indulge in generalization. It is the height of fallacy to accuse all judges, all members of tribunals, election petition tribunals, of having taken money to give a judgment without substantiating such an allegation. You are exposing the judiciary to ridicule.
But how can we protect judges from this attack? Some people say that judges should be allowed to come out and state their side of the story.
No, you don't do that anywhere. A judge doesn't go out to the public or say, oh, this is the reason why I gave my judgment. That is for, academic journals to analyze those judgments. But where you have 5 tribunals saying the same thing, confirming what virtually everybody knew about an election, confirming the observations of local and international observers. By all means, if you have your evidence to invalidate those judgments, the Court of Appeal is there. In the case of governorship election, the Supreme Court is the last point of call. But what decent lawyers do in this country and elsewhere, once you have gone through the entire gamut, once you reach a dead end, once your appeal is dismissed by the Supreme Court, and your client asks you the question, lawyer, what do we do? Say no. What we simply say is that is the end of the road. Your appeal can only lie with the Almighty God. But you don't incite your clients as lawyers to expose the judiciary to ridicule. Because all those who are abusing judges, one way or the other, one day, you will need to go back to the court. So if you lose, and it has happened in this country, where people have lost cases in the election petition tribunal, you get to the Court of Appeal to win, or the Supreme Court. So nobody tries to destroy a system because you have lost in the court of first instance. It's ridiculous.
Let's talk about card readers. Some people say that it appears that the tribunals are giving conflicting judgments, whereas some endorse the use of the card readers, others have refused it and rejected it.
There's been no. You see, there is a judgment that was delivered in Lagos, in the case of Agbaje and the APC, which has been misinterpreted.
Okay, what is the proper interpretation?
Grounds for impeaching an election are well stated in Section 138 of the Electoral Act. Corrupt practices, electoral malpractice, non-compliance with the Electoral Act, and so on and so forth. But that you cannot make the failure to use the card reader as a grant because it was never contemplated by Section 138. But the same Electoral Act empowers the INEC to issue guidelines and regulations, which in many cases have been recognized as subsidiary legislations. So what the court said in Lagos was that the lack of use of card readers, or failure to use card readers, cannot be a grant
To nullify the elections.
as envisaged by the Electoral Act. But not that directives given by INEC with respect to the use of card readers will not be upheld by the court. And that's what has happened. Those who did not read the judgment of the Court of Appeal, who did not digest the judgment very well, or who are out to promote mischief. And so, the Court of Appeal in Lagos, in some of the petitions, in which I took part, some of our colleagues were waiving that judgment. Yes. And we had to make it clear and challenge them. Where on earth did the Court of Appeal state that car readers should not be used for the election? If the tribunal upheld the directive of INEC with respect to the conduct of the election, you can't turn around and blame the judiciary.
Away from the election tribunals, the president appointed a new INEC chairman and commissioners for INEC after you drew the attention of his government to it. And the Senate on Thursday confirmed this appointment. But one controversy that is still trailing the development is whether the actions or inactions of the past board, when there was no quorum, whether it is constitutional when the board was made up of only 4 members.
My position, or the view I expressed, was anchored on a subsisting judgment of the Federal High Court, in which there was no appeal, to the fact that the INEC has to be constituted to form a quorum before it can take a decision with respect to the fixing of days for elections and the rest of them. And at that material time, in 2010, there were 4 national commissioners, including the chairman. This time around, only 2 national commissioners were left. At the time I made this statement, and I was simply telling the government, I was drawing the attention of the government to that judgment. And if you go on to hold the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states without the full complement of INEC commissions, you might run into problems. So what the government did speedily was to appoint, I think, 5 commissioners in addition to 1, because at that time only 1 was left. So now we have about 6. It is clearly stated in the Constitution that any person who is going to be appointed to be a national commissioner, a member of the INEC, must be a person of unimpeachable integrity. So this government has a duty to subject those whose names are being sent to the Senate to an integrity test. And from some of the comments and the revelations in the media, I do hope that those whose appointments have been confirmed have met the constitutional prerequisites. I mean, for instance, one of them was part of the discredited Iwu-led INEC. For which reason, he was not reappointed in 2010 when his first term of office expired.
He's now making the list again.
Another one was indicted for illegally fixing the money meant to run a statutory body, and who could not account for the interest yielded from the fiction. I think there may be problems.
If there are problems, so where do we go from here?
I think we must not fail to direct the attention of the authorities. Because I do recall in 2010, some appointments were made, and the President Jonathan, had to withdraw some of them based on revelations regarding their character integrity.
Now, I won't let you go without asking about this issue of your ministerial appointments. The papers have been agog with news of you being penciled down to be Attorney General of the Federation. And there were reports that perhaps you failed the security screening. Others said that you will be uncontrollable in government. But what is fact? What is fiction?
As a lawyer, I deal with evidence. I do not engage in speculations or conjecture. I was contacted, and it took some appreciable time for me to make up my mind. But at the end of the day, the president has the discretion to choose from the list before him. I couldn't have failed any test, having regard to the guidelines that were laid down. But as I said, the choice of a minister or the choice of ministers is the exclusive preserve of the president at the end of the day.
But did you feel bad?
How can I? I'm gainfully employed. I'm gainfully employed. No bad blood whatsoever. The struggle continues. What I could have done from the government, I continue to do them, outside the government. So there's no bad blood at all. And I wish the government success.
That's our interview and the program for this week, but let's continue the conversation online. Remember that you can find these and past episodes of the program on our YouTube channel. I'm Shola Shoyeli. Thank you for watching.